Yo, Hegassen here and welcome to my first ever One Piece anime review of anime episode 891, the unofficial start of the Wano arc. Now, when I first set up this channel, I did actually want to do some of the anime reviews, but when I actually first started, the first episode that aired was like the first episode of the Reverie, and that was pretty much like 90% flashback, so there felt like absolute no point. I actually did record it, and it was just me sitting there rewatching stuff that I already know about, that you already know about. So what was the point? Thankfully this episode there's only one flashback and it's only short and it's actually got some good information in it with Kinemon. So anyway, let's get into it. Here we go. It is almost Wano Kuni time, and it is the last time for many things. Last time for the old style animation and last time for this old intro superpowers. And I'm going to be honest, I'm actually going to quite miss the superpowers intro. When it first came out I didn't really like it, but it was so damn catchy that it just got stuck in my head, and now I really like it. Every time it's playing I'm like dancing along like that. So I'm going to miss it. Let's see what the 101 is going to look like. It's definitely going to have that animation quality setup, which I'm very much looking forward to. And the animation in this episode, well, it's the last time we see it. There are some really good animation in it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But speaking of quality stuff, if you think this is quality content, very quickly, right now, I'm going to say, give it a little like and subscribe. Go on, we're getting to Wano Kuni. Let's get to Wano Kuni with a new subscriber. The episode starts off with a kind of a look back over the Reverie with the Straw Hats. Nami's reading the newspaper and she's acknowledging the fact that a lot of people that the Straw Hats are known throughout the years, they're all there. And it was actually nice to see everybody interact. It's nice to see Luffy remember them all and talk about how he wants to go back after his journey and see them again. So he's kind of made himself a new little promise there. But the highlight of this was the humour coming out of Sanji and Chopper, and they're like little fanboying over the people that they're seeing in the newspaper. For Chopper it's Dr. Rean, for Sanji it's every woman he's ever met. There were some great little character moments in there. There were some great little classic anime facial expressions, and the humour here was very good. In fact, throughout the entire episode, I think the humour of this episode was very high up. There's only one little thing that I would nitpick at this, and that's the fact that when they cut out the pictures, for both very different reasons, they leave two great big holes in the paper, and that's on the page talking about the fact that Big Mom and Kaido are going to be potentially joining forces or going to clash in Wano, and then that means that Nami's unable to read that, so they don't notice now going into Wano. But when you actually look at the newspaper, it looks like they've only really cut out the images, and Nami's like, it's unreadable. It would have been better if they just kind of made it a little bit more on the text. When you see the back of them, there's a lot of text and a little bit of Big Mum, but when you actually look at the back of the paper, it looks like it's more of just the photographs. Just a small little thing, but it took me out of it for a little bit. Then, speaking of humour, we get the octopus, which is like the standout character of this, and we see it sneaking on the ship. I'll be honest here though, I feel like the manga did this better. The joke of the octopus is that it sneaks on the ship and it's standing there, and you as a viewer notice it, but none of the Straw Hats do. And I do think it's very funny, but I feel like the manga did it slightly better. I feel like the anime drew it out a little bit too long and made it a little bit more obvious that the octopus was getting on board. In the manga it was a little bit more of a you blink and you miss it, or you don't notice that one little corner of the panel where the octopus is, or the tentacles coming in at the corner of the panel. Here it's very obvious, there's like entire close-ups of it jumping on, and it's in silhouette even though it's clearly an octopus. It didn't really need the silhouette, because it was only when it unsilhouetted it was just like a tan, like beige colour. Whereas when it was silhouette, it was just exactly the same, but in silhouette black. So that seemed a bit pointless, but it was funny. And what I did like here is seeing the octopus in the anime with the sounds and stuff it was making, with that classic like Japanese drum noise like that, that kind of thing. I really like that. And I like the fact here that as well, you get more of a sense that it's somehow controlling the koi, because you see these great big koi come in, and whenever it goes, it sounded more like spit. The second he does that, all of the carp seem to come, and every time he does it, it riles up the carp and they jump out of the water. You get more of a sense of that in the anime than you do in the manga. But just like in the manga, we didn't really get any more reason as to what this octopus is, why the octopus is there. Is it being a good guy? Is it being a bad guy? You know, is it just messing with them? Is it doing it to help them get into Wano, or is it summoning the carp to try and knock them out of Wano? I'm not really sure. We don't really get any clarification here, but hopefully this is, again, something else that the anime can expand on going forward. But now let's speak about the coin. Let's actually speak about going into Wano. I really like the scene where they cross over and you see the water changing, and in particular I really love the scene where the animation completely changes and it goes into that old kind of traditional Japanese wood painting and the music changes. There's some really beautiful stuff. In fact, a lot of the going into Wano stuff has some beautiful animation. One or two not very good ones, but overall extremely good animation quality, especially when they get to the waterfall and they're going up the waterfall and Luffy is holding on to the two koi carp and they're all being thrown around in the back. There's some beautiful animation scenes in that, and again the music as well and everything. This is where the anime really brings these scenes to life, and I very much enjoyed it. There's quite a lot of Nami fan service in there as well, but I will say as well, throughout this entire chapter, Carrot was looking really cute. They really went to town drawing Carrot. Overall, I don't think the journey into Wano was as hype as other arcs, like in particular Sky Pier going up the knock-up stream and that original entering the Grand Line stuff. I don't think it had that level of spectacle. It was definitely an exciting scene, and like I said, it was very well animated. Of course, it's nothing compared to what we're going to be getting next week. Also, throughout the entire scene and the entire coming into Wano, I was constantly like, I wish they brought Jinbe with them, because obviously Jinbe, he joined the Straw Hats at the end of Whole Cake as the helmsman, and then he had to leave to help save his crew. And here I think it would have been a really good test for Jinbe to show just how good a helmsman he is. But then at the same time, it would mean that at the end, when they get up to the top of the waterfall and that's great big whirlpool, Jinbe probably has the skills to get them around that whirlpool. So you can kind of understand a little bit why he wasn't here and taken out of the arc that little bit, just so that they can get these conflicts here, you know, in actually getting into Wano and the ship seemingly sinking down into the whirlpool. I'm sure Jinbe could have got in there and changed the currents and stuff. But oh well. Fingers crossed that Jinbe is going to return one day. And there it is. That ends. It ends with Luffy falling into the bottom of a whirlpool. Bad stuff considering he's a devil fruit user. And next week we're getting into Wano properly with that new animation. So it's time to say goodbye to the old animation style and time to say goodbye to the superpower intro. I will miss them, but, well, I will miss the intro. I won't miss the old animation style because sometimes it was rubbish. Very hype going in next week. Overall, this episode though, I think it was perfectly fine. Really exciting, really well translated from the manga. Got a little bit more clarification with the octopus. I don't really think the joke of the octopus landed as well as it did in the manga, but I definitely think the waterfall scene and stuff looked much better in the anime, and all of the paintings and stuff. Not that the art in the manga wasn't very good, but it was just great to see all of the colour and all the music in there. So overall for me, I think I'm going to give this episode 891 a purple tier. A good end to that One Piece era, but let's get into Wano and that new animation style. And I will also point out here that in the manga, they did it in a slightly different order. What we're getting next week is what we got first in the manga, and I understand why they did this in the anime, because of the fact that you can tease people with the actual trailers and the teaser trailers and stuff in the anime, whereas when they did it in the manga, them initial scenes with Zoro, as we've seen in the trailers and stuff, they were more hype to getting people into Wano after Reverie, but we can get that through the trailers in the anime. So I get why they did it, and it actually makes a little bit more kind of narrative sense seeing the Straw Hats go into Wano, land in Wano, and then we get into the Wano stuff. So overall, I'm just very excited for Wano. So there you go, that was my first anime review. Let me know what you thought about it. A little bit nervous doing the anime reviews because obviously I am a manga fan, and I do worry about the fact that I am just going to accidentally spoil it as I'm rambling on about the anime. Obviously, you know, I have to admit that some of the big reveals and stuff that you do get in the anime, they're not as impactful for me because I've already seen them. I'm not going to fake news you with them with the like, oh my god, I can't believe an octopus came out of nowhere and dragged them into a whirlpool, because I already know all that stuff. So I'm just, hopefully it's a different perspective of somebody who watches the manga, reads the manga, watching the anime. Anyway, just let me know what you think. Aiming to do these throughout the Wano arc. Yeah, thank you. Hey, so thanks for watching. What did you think? Let me know about it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed my video, maybe give it a like. And if you really liked it, why not subscribe? You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Twitch. Oh, and here's a related video you might enjoy, and something more fresh. I've been Hegassen, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!